Helps if you press the button, doesn't it? Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Economic Development Asset Management Committee meeting. Before we go on, I'd just like to introduce you to Jerry Dawson, who's just over there. He's the interim support officer, who's basically taking Nicola McCoy-Brown's post while we fill that post. Hopefully soon we'll have some good news of who's going to fill that post. But I'll tell you that when we officially can. So welcome to the meeting, and I look forward to your reports, because you're doing quite a few reports, aren't you? Okay, that takes us on then to item 1, minutes of the last meeting held on the 19th of June. Are we happy that's a true reflection? Thank you very much. Apologies for absence.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Allen replaces Councillor Guilfoyle, and Councillor Smith replaces Councillor Zadrozny just for this meeting. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you very much. Declaration of interest of members and officers, disclosable pecuniary interests, private interests, pecuniary and non-pecuniary. Are there any? If you find during the meeting that something comes up, just shout out as well, please. Okay then, that takes us on to item 4, the Toton and Chetwynd Link Road Phase 1 construction design work, and that's Matthew Neal who's going to talk to us about that. Matthew.
Thank you, Chairman. Just to give some of the key highlights from the report. The report itself sets out the current position around the Toton and Chetwynd Link Road, which is a key deliverable as part of the emerging Toton and Chetwynd strategic master plan. And asks for and gives a number of recommendations to progress the phase 1 design work for a Toton and Chetwynd Link Road. Just to highlight, it forms an integral part of the strategy and council's plans for the High Speed 2 growth strategy, as well as the establishment of the locally led urban development corporation. So this all links with that. In terms of background, this was part of a bid previously to government and was very well received. And now what we are endeavouring to do through the report is get members' approval for us to proceed with further design work, so that we are on the front foot, as I call it, with any future bid opportunities, and members will all be aware that we've had a number of funding announcements recently which we are looking to pursue. So this work that is undertaken by ARC Regeneration, who are our company that will work with VIA on this particular scheme, will take that design work hopefully further forward, subject to members giving approval to this report. And I'm happy to answer any questions, Chairman.
Thank you, Matthew. The recommendation are on page 9. I propose recommendations. Are you going to second them, Reg?
I'll second that proposal and Rosemary Wright.
Thank you very much. Anybody got any comments or questions? Kate?
Yes, thank you, Jay. Yes, just say yes, welcome this, and certainly as a Broxtowe member, I know Broxtowe Borough Councils will be very happy that this is moving a little bit, but just a little bit of caution here, because we're still unsure whether HS2 is going to arrive, don't we, really? And I'm just a little bit concerned that if this is in place, to what extent it is still really needed. I mean, I know that the road around the area is particularly needed, and I know as well that there are plans for the housing to carry on whether HS2 arrives or not. But just some sort of explanations of kind of whether this is money well spent. I believe that it is, but just a little bit of a reassurance that actually, whether HS2 does arrive in Toton or not, that actually that this will still be needed and used, and is actually a good use of the public money, I suppose. Thank you.
Before I bring you in on if anything you want to say, man, I think for me, Kate, what this does, it sends a clear signal out there. One, that there's a desperate need of something to happen in that area. Two, it's laying the sort of the foundations, if you like, for Toton, which is we're desperate for that to be the HS2 base. And it's another way of showing the government that actually, look, everybody wants it to be there. Get on, make the decision, and tell us so we can get on with it. So that's the part of it. And I understand a bit about value for money and things like that. But you know, it is, because it's going to bring it in. I'm very confident in that.
Back briefly, I just raised that in particular because there have been just very recent reports that actually, again, they're starting to say, well, is it where is HS2 going to? Might stop at Birmingham or go to Parkway? So just sort of like these keep rising to the surface, don't they? These concerns from central government. So just really just checking what's happening this week.
Totally understand, and I actually share your frustration on that. You know, nothing more I'd want than actually a decision to be made, so at least we know. You know, even if it's a no, then we know, don't we? So we can focus on other things. But this is another nudge to them, saying, look, you know, we're doing all this. You know, please help. Is there anything for you to add, Matthew?
Thanks, Chairman. Just to add, I suppose, that paragraph 6 outlines that the work itself is in line with the emerging strategic master plan that's being currently developed, and will unlock a significant amount of residential area there, but also employment uses as well. So it was just to flag that it isn't just about obviously the high-speed 2 hub. There is another angle to this, which is around the emerging strategic master plan for that area.
Yes, irrespective of whether HS2 is in part of this debate, I think there's a need for the road anyway, and it's best to be on the front foot, so to speak, and almost shovel ready. I think you need to be able to be there to get the bid in, and I would hope everybody will get behind this and vote unanimously for it, because I think this is good value and it's the way forward.
Thank you, Roger. Anybody else like to comment, ask a question? Okay, can I show hands then? All in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. That takes us on then to item 5, the review of transport programme delivery team structure. Sally, go. Oh, before we do that, recommendations are on page 14. I'll put those recommendations forward. Reg?
Yeah, and I'll second those and reserve me right.
Thank you, Sally.
Thank you, Chairman. This report is seeking members of approval for revision to the staffing structure of the current transport programme and delivery team. The team currently is very small. We've got 3 members of staff, and they do a tremendous job in working on projects to ensure that we can be shovel ready for major transport and other infrastructure bidding programmes. And whilst my small team are doing a tremendous job, we know we can do more, and we want to be able to take advantage of any other government or initiatives and at a national and a regional level. And the report is seeking your approval to extend the capacity of the team, so we know that we'll be able to respond to any opportunities that come forward in the future. Thank you, Chairman.
Questions, comments? Helen?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I welcome the strengthening of this crucial team. I note that you are getting the money from existing budgets. In paragraph 9, it states that the impact on the existing revenue salary budgets is cost neutral, with the remainder of the budget sourced from a variety of locations, with the option currently to recharge fees to projects. Therefore, I would ask is this cost neutral, or is it dependent on agreement with other transport partners and projects? And what financial impact will this have on plans for other projects? Or are we 100% confident that there will be no issues at all? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. The posts will be funded from existing budgets, and if there are new opportunities that we are successfully bidding for, we will be taking money from those. The eventual package, it will obviously yet develop in the fullness of time, and we will ensure that we can maximise the opportunities, because the impact on budgets is a key consideration, because whilst we want to deliver exciting stuff, it mustn't be at a cost to the budget, and we're very mindful of that.
Happy? Okay. Roger?
My opinion, staff are the most valuable asset of this business, and this makes sense to me. And if you can do it in-house, you've got cross-working amongst the professionals. This is the way forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Shaw?
Thank you, Chair. Concerns about the confidence that the council's got in the local enterprise and partnership, East Midlands Council and Highways England and rail operating companies within the network And the report states that one of the major reasons for the restructure is to improve the influence with these organisations, because they have a poor track record in delivery on these major transport infrastructure projects of recent. And I refer directly to the electrification of the East Midlands, the line into Nottingham from London St Pancras. The question needs to be asked: what confidence have we got in those particular enterprise partnerships, Midland Contact, having actually delivering what they set out to deliver? Because we've already outlined previously that the government spending per head in the East Midlands is £8,879, which compares unfavourably to the West Midlands of £9,500 plus, and Yorkshire at Humberside is £9,400. Do we have the confidence in these people delivering what they say they're going to deliver?
Before you answer that, Sally, if you don't mind, I don't think it's about having confidence or not in the LEPs or anything, because they don't actually deliver. It's, you know, that's what we the ones that actually deliver that part of it. The LEP, the local enterprise partnership, really is about bringing together partners and looking at strategically what happens in a particular area, and then putting funding towards it. So the actual doing is done by the other partners, i.e. in this case it would be us. So I would imagine Sally's got, and I'm not putting words into your mouth, Sally, but I would imagine you've got absolute confidence in our ability to do that. I think, to me, this is about we can have as many projects as we like. You know, we can win as many bids as we win. If we haven't got the capacity to be able to deliver those bids, then we might as well not bid for anything. So to me, this is all about gearing up for moving forward, because we've got big ambitions for the whole of Nottinghamshire, and we don't want a blockage so that we can't deliver them. I don't know if you want anything to add there, Sally.
I agree totally, Councillor Girling. It's very much ensuring that we've got the staff resources to maximise the opportunities for Nottinghamshire County Council, but it's also by having sufficient staff, our ability to influence other people's agendas will be increased as well. So it's providing staff resources that we can make an impact across the board, both on delivering projects and also influence other people's agendas, because if as my current team of 3 individuals, there's only so many hours in the day, and very often they're sort of double and triple booked for meetings and things. But this will increase our ability to successfully obtain funding for projects, deliver projects, and influence other people's agendas.
Kate.
Thank you, Chair. I tell you what, I wish I was a shovel manufacturer. I mean, the number of times we hear shovel ready use, I think I just sort of say that. I mean, that is a serious concern. I mean, one of the things that concerns me about this is, and it's fine, we're going to support this, obviously, it's a good thing to do, is, and we're all waiting for the levelling up white paper, aren't we, really? Is actually, when you keep getting these funding bids that keep arriving, it's really very difficult to actually kind of have a longer strategic plan. And actually there is one here, and I do see that, but I think it's really very, very, it's not the best way, I don't think, to fund local government, but then that's perhaps a discussion for another place. Just a couple of things, and I agree, I'm glad to see Midland Main Line in here too. And again, a lot of the concerns some of my residents have is around having a more integrated transport plan, and again it's referred to here, and I know I've talked to Adrian about this outside this, but to have a properly kind of proper strategic and integrated transport plan, I think will be a really good way forward, and that's something that I'd very much like to support. The other thing I know, and again we've discussed with Adrian, perhaps we can get this into the work programme, we keep getting these kind of little new team development plans, and I'm losing track, and I know kind of with Anna's a new member who's leading with us on this one. It'd be really nice to see a more overall structure so we can see where all these sit, so we can get a better understanding of actually who links up with who, and, you know, how the departments are structured. If we could do that in a way that, you know, we might be able to understand it, that'd be quite helpful. But no,
I'm sure we can do that, Kate. I'm more than happy from send it out and show where it fits within the council structure. You know, it's no problem at all.
No,
Dead
this,
easy to do.
this looks good, and we're happy to support it. So thank you. Yeah.
Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a brief point, and following on from what you just said a few moments ago, really, you know, this is a bit of a no-brainer from my point of view. Representing a division, and I think I can see the member for Ollerton above you as well, Chairman, referencing sort of the A614 Ollerton roundabout upgrades. I'd imagine from a planning point of view that that's a project that's delivered sort of many obstacles, unique points within that corridor down to the 6097 Loudon roundabout. And you know, it has been talked about for a while, sort of referencing the Robin Hood line. And if we are going to move for these sorts of things, we need the tools and resources to do so.
Thank you, Scott. Roger.
I'm pleased to see under item 7 the poacher line, albeit the last mention, but nevertheless it's there. My residents will be very pleased to hear about the poacher line, and it's mentioned in item 10, promote local rail improvements. Good, because I personally think rail has been perhaps the poor relation to other forms of transport, but my residents will be very pleased to see the mention of the Nottingham-Grantham poacher line. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Roger. Just on that, I think just for a flavour for committee members, rail, it might not be the poor relation, or you can see it as that. Often rail takes a lot longer for things to come through. We have an ambition in this council to look at the rail that can be brought back into use. I know there's we've got a bid in at the moment, and there's one being worked up for bringing investment in to be able to do that. So we are, as far as the council's concerned, not a poor relation, but you know, you don't just get a train line put in as if you might get a road. So it does take a lot longer, but we do have that ambition, and I think that's only right and proper. So that's good. Anybody else? Okay, it's been proposed and seconded. All in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. That takes us on to item 6 and the lease extension on site at Bruno Drive, Newark. The recommendations are on page 20. I'll put that forward. Reg?
Second that and reserve the right.
Okay, and that is...
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, the council hold 2 leases at Bruno Drive in Newark for our recycling centre and waste transfer centres. And these sites are then subsequently sublet to Veolia to operate as part of the waste contract. And an opportunity has arisen to negotiate with the landlords to extend the leases to give us greater security at the sites where we've undertaken significant investment and we run important services from, and to improve our position at the rent review, which is outlined in the report. And this report seeking approval to the agreed terms for the variation of the lease accordingly, including for the extension for both leases for a further 10 years, taking us to 2043. Also, I can confirm that we've consulted with Councillor Dawson, who's the divisional member, who asked that her comments be passed on by me to committee. And her view was that she thought this was a sensible approach. We've spent a lot of money on the site. Early teething problems had settled down and it was providing a good service, and that she wanted committee to be aware that she was supportive of the recommendations. So happy to take any questions, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Roger?
As has been said, we've made significant investment on this site. I know it very well. It's an excellent site, in my opinion. Another 10 years is the right decision, so hope we all can get behind that. Thank you.
Helen?
Yeah, just a really quick one. As part of the current waste strategy review, there's a proposal to do weekly food waste collections across the entire country. Would there be space at that site for Veolia to put something on site for the food waste disposal, or would they need to look at another site? It's just while we're looking at things on that site, it might be an idea. That's all I was thinking.
Shall I bring Derek in on that? Can you just turn your mic off, Neil, please? Sorry.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for that question, Councillor Smith. Yes, so as part of our preparation for with our district and borough partners for the implementation of the national waste strategy, one of the things that we're looking at, and there's still a lot of national level conversations to be had about it as well, is how a national food waste collection and then disposal strategy might work. As and when we get to the point where we do collect food waste, quite a lot of it will not end up at our waste collection or waste disposal points, but will actually go for composting provision. They'll have a county site elsewhere in Nottinghamshire that serves that purpose. So we're not quite at the point where we've identified whether we'll have in our 12 waste sites, whether we'll have food disposal points as well. I think that's probably unlikely. We'll try and do that through our domestic collection arrangements. But it is something that we're working hard with our district board partners to kind of organise a system in time for 23-24 when the new legislation comes into place. And of course, it will be something that's enormously important to our residents as well.
You happy? Okay. Any other comments, Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think waste and recycling sites and good waste and recycling sites are really appreciated by residents in the community. And I think we've got a good site here, increasing revenue as well. It's, you know, it's a good result. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I mean, I use it because it's in Newark, so I don't know if I have to declare an interest, but it is a remarkably well-run site, actually. I know it when we went to move it from where it was to there, it came up with a lot of local opposition because it'd be infested with rats and the smell, and none of that materialised. It's a really, really good site, and it's not far from my house, so I quite like it to stay there, really. And yeah, that's a great question about food waste. I know the districts and boroughs in the county are, you know, mulling that over and how they're going to cope, because obviously they're the ones going to be collecting it and bringing it forward. So there's a big conversation going on, and it'd be interesting to see what they actually come up with. Anyway, it's been proposed and seconded. All in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. That takes us on then to item 7, the Nottingham Visitor Economy Strategy Update. Matthew Neal. Oh, right, before I do Matthew Neal, recommendations on page 28, proposed by me.
I second those, Mr. Chairman, and reserve my right.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, the purpose of this report is to provide a bit of an update on the visitor economy strategy. Most members will be aware that the visitor economy strategy was approved at Policy Committee February 2019, and there was a launch event in June 2019 for the strategy itself. Clearly, during that period, from that period of time to where we are today, we have had the impact of the pandemic, which has set the strategy back somewhat. So this report endeavours to reinvigorate the visitor economy strategy. It highlights a number of areas where we believe there are now opportunities for the County Council with regards to the visitor economy strategy. So with regards to the government review of the destination management organisations, through to how our green and open spaces have been used during the pandemic, and the opportunities that's given to us, and opportunities to work with our district colleagues to understand some of the levers that we can work together with to pull there in respect of the visitor economy strategy. So the recommendations have been outlined within the report. And we would want to bring something further back in the autumn in terms of our findings and some of the things that we would like to put into play as part of the visitor economy strategy moving forward. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. I think for me, this is a real indication of how this new administration wants to work, a lot closer with our boroughs and districts to make sure that we integrate in with what their visitor strategies are. You know, we're not the only ones that have lovely places to go and visit in Nottinghamshire. They have those places too. And you know, after COVID, this is an industry that really needs a good, you know, bump start now to get them back so that they can start earning a living and make sure that when people do come to Nottinghamshire, they've got a reason to stay for more than one day. So this is all part of getting to that place, really, as far as I'm concerned. Are there any comments or questions? Yeah. Is it Anne? I've not got to know yet, Anne. Sorry, Anne.
Well, I think partly you've answered my question, but I'm still going to ask it anyway because I've wrote it. So, and I welcome this report, but I'd very much like to see the focus of our strategy broaden to draw tourism towards some of our fantastic market towns like Mansfield. And I think, like you said, you've already answered that a little bit. These places need to be integrated into the strategy as part of this county. Clearly central to this is the transport, and I'd like to know how we're going to ensure that sustainable transport, trains, trams and cycle and walking routes can be fully supported by the County Council in considering refreshing this strategy. And I think you've said a little bit about that. This is essential to make it easier for visitors without a car to maximise their time spent in Notts by being able to get around in a cost-effective and environmentally friendly manner. So I think you have said something.
Do you want to come back on that, Matthew?
Thank you, Chairman. So we have included within the strategy anyway, and within some of our bids, for example, and working with the districts on some of their towns funding bids, sustainable transport solutions. And so that work will be ongoing and will be factored into this strategy as we move forward.
Dave?
Thank you, Chair. I very much welcome this report. Can we have an assurance that members, as well as the members' consultation, that other parties are involved in the consultation throughout Nottinghamshire, such as interest groups that would use the Byron influence that we have in Hucknall, for instance? We could use that local interest group. We could use the library as a centre point. We could use the town centre as a mapping area. This is where Byron's buried, and also targeting people to go to Newstead Abbey. There are many ideas that council have had over the years, and on several occasions, these seem to be put on the back burner. Can I have a bit of assurance that we will drive this forward and keep going and do what we can to actually regenerate our town centres as well, because it all impacts. Thank you, Chair.
Well, I can answer that one. Yes, I can give you the assurance that will happen. I think it's vital. And I know, for example, Newark and Sherwood District Council have 3 destination management groups because they've got 3 distinct areas in that district. One concentrates solely on Newark, the other one concentrates solely on Southwell, and the other one concentrates solely on Sherwood. And then they all link into each other, again, trying to get people so they come for more than one day. And that's, to me, is the vital key of what we've got to be aiming for, because we know the personal spend of somebody when they stay is a lot greater than just coming for a day, you know, and then having an ice cream and eating their own sandwiches. When they stay for longer, they're buying meals, they're having a pint, they're doing all those sorts of things as well, and they're going to attractions. So absolutely, we'll work with the attractions that are in the county to make sure it all links in. And so we've got one message going out, really, to say, come to Nottinghamshire because it's a fantastic place, which we all know as councillors that actually it is. You know, we've got some incredible places in Nottinghamshire that are hidden under bushels, really, and we need to get them out there and make sure people know. Is there anything before I bring you in, do you want to add anything to that, Matthew?
Chairman, no, thank you.
Right. Yep. Oh, Kate first, sorry, and I'll bring you in after.
Just a quick one. I mean, and I know we're pushing an open door here, but I think you're getting the message loud and clear. This needs to be a county-wide. It needs to be a well-informed county-wide, and not kind of just focusing on sort of 3 or 4 kind of significant kind of council and properties which are important, need to happen. So I think there's that. And to kind of talk to us, I've got some brilliant places in my division, and I think everybody here will say the same thing, and all councils will say the same thing, aren't we? Yeah. So thanks for that. There's just one thing that's just occurred to me, and it is what you've just said and what we've just been talking about. And how do we make sure Nottinghamshire is seen as a tourist destination. So there's both a micro, isn't there, in terms of understanding what there is in Nottinghamshire and leading people there, but it's also saying to people, come to Nottinghamshire, and how can we shift? Because I don't think people will be seeing Nottinghamshire as a holiday destination necessarily, will they? You know, in the way they will perhaps Yorkshire or Derbyshire. And Nottinghamshire is beautiful and has some wonderful stuff as both of those counties. So it's kind of how you kind of get over that in terms of public perception to make the tourist economy more, as you say, Keith, than just somebody coming and spending a day here and having an ice cream. Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right. I know, because I've been involved in the Newark and Sherwood destination strategy, that the average or the furthest or the longest people will drive to come into Newark and Sherwood attractions is about 2 hours. Yeah, because they'll come for the day, and it's about how do you then, you know, make it so actually we get from further than 2 hours away and stay for longer. I know, for example, that the government are looking at how tourism is changing now, whereas before all the big places like London's been the place to go, and everybody sees it as England, as London, and having sort of done the tourism bit, Buckingham Palace thing in London, it's nothing like the rest of England. So I do know they're doing a scheme up the A1 where all attractions up the A1, and it's sort of been guided by Germany. So a lot of Germans are starting to come into the country. So it's about understanding that. And, you know, we as a county council understand an element to it, but also so do the districts and boroughs. And it's having that conversation to find out about those sorts of things and see where we can then say, actually, because that scheme within 20 minutes either side of the A1, going up the A1 corridor effectively. But actually, you know, once you're here, mate, we want you to stay here, go and have a look at Mansfield, go and have a look at Hucknall, go and have a look at Broxtowe, and look at all the places that we've got and try and keep them there then, and change the plans, you know, or even if they know about it and they've been up that corridor, next time they'll go, actually, there was this there, there was that there, and we didn't have time to do that, so we'll come back. So it's, you know, tourism can be a long-term project, but we've got to start somewhere, and this, I think, is the ideal opportunity to do that, and by working with the districts and boroughs. Pauline.
Thank you, Chair. It's been on my mind that Nottingham Day is only weeks away, and has anyone got their finger on trying to promote it this year? I can see from what you said that next year it can be coordinated. And even I can see that we can get that well organised and well done. Is anything going to happen for this year?
I'll bring officers in on this one. He says tongue in cheek. I do know it's going to be mainly an online thing, and just to sort of get the ball rolling, I think we probably, and I'm guessing they'll use the opportunity to say, you know, next year is going to be this big start of it. What sort of thing do you want? So it'll be about that sort of thing. But, you know, I'm for the street I look on, any excuse for a party. So, you know, let's sort out some parties so we can block the road off and have parties there. But I'll leave Derek to come in and tell you what's being planned for this one, because it is short notice, absolutely. But I don't think we should be scared about that. I think we should embrace it and actually just get some information out there to show, look, this is what we're all about. Okay, Derek.
Thank you, Chairman. Obviously, we're happy to advise members on arrangements for street parties as and when they're organised. But what we're doing corporately is we're working through our comms colleagues in the main to think about how we can publicise and commemorate the first Nottinghamshire Day. Obviously, it's relatively short notice, but we'll be also using some of our main visitor attractions, particularly Rufford, Sherwood, Home Pierpont and so on. We'll be organising an initial programme of events, is probably too strong a word, but we'll be doing some activity in all of those venues to recognise and commemorate Nottinghamshire Day. But obviously our main focus will be on the real opportunity that we get in 2022 to do something that's much higher profile. But we have got some initial plans that we'll be communicating over the coming weeks around the 25th of August this year.
Can I come back? Do I presume, Derek, then you're in charge for the coming year after that? Have we got anyone who's got the finger on the pulse of sorting out cycle routes, walking routes, all sorts of things that go county-wide that will help promote this? I mean, you can't just say we'd like to promote it and press a button. You have to have the stuff there to implement.
Certainly, services that I've got responsibility for will play a key role in coordinating and leading our offer to the public around Nottinghamshire Day, but it will be a corporate effort as much as anything as well. And of course, we'll be wanting to ensure that residents and the public and our partners can also both support and engage in and commemorate the day as well. So I would imagine that is a snowball that will gather pace over the coming year.
Hopefully.
Looks like you're giving Derek a job, to be fair.
Well, I thought he'd volunteer.
Yeah, I did. I saw the volunteering as well. I've got Reg next, and then.
No, I think just talking about this, I mean, we've got a lot going for us already in Nottinghamshire. There's a heck of a lot going. If you take all our legends, all we've got to do is post-COVID now get those all back out there. We've got a wonderful thing going on at Trent Bridge at the moment. We've got this 100 cricket twice a week, Trent Bridge, Nottinghamshire, on the television all over the place, so promoting Nottinghamshire that way. We've got the Football League restarting now in August. So, you know, again, Nottinghamshire on the television. And then, you know, all around, out at Rushcliffe on the border out there, DNRC, that's going to be a massive attraction because that's a global thing. That is not something that's closed in. So we've got so many things. So all we've got to do is reignite a lot of the things that we've got and to get them now post-COVID and get them rolling. And once people internally, because less people will be moving off internally then, all we've got to do, the biggest problem we will have, I see it, is accommodation for people more than anything else, that when they do arrive, unless they move in and out for a day like they do in the Peak District, that'll be our biggest challenge. But the rest of it, we've got everything. All we've got to do is re-promote it and activate it because we've got all the legends. I mean, you've got Welbeck, you've got, you know, there's so many things in Nottinghamshire to think about, all the estates, everything. And Pilgrim's Day, Pilgrim, wherever they came from out the side. No, there's just so much. All we've got to do is get this going, reignite everything now post-COVID. It all died over the last 12, 15 months because of COVID. So there's plenty of opportunities and there's plenty there to do. And there's plenty of opportunity for people to come and see Nottinghamshire and have an interesting day out.
Thanks, Ray. Yeah, I absolutely agree. As I say, there's loads, and you know, we did do the launch, and then this horrible disease virus struck us. So it's about reinstigating all that as well, anyway. And I'm sure we'll use this Nottinghamshire Day to help do that. So there's things in place anyway that would have been up and running and going, but then COVID stopped it. So, you know, I know that our attraction partners will be raring to go. So I don't think they'll be backwards in coming forwards in terms of wanting to promote things and get things out there, really. Helen.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. As you know, as you said earlier, that the use of outdoor spaces, should I say, have rocketed during COVID. Areas like Sutton Lawn, Kingsway Park, Titchfield Park saw a massive increase in footfall. And as a district, we've been working really hard to increase the environment teams, play equipment on those areas. But another area that's seen huge investment is the Mill Waters project. And that's been a collaboration.
I couldn't quite hear what project?
The Mill Waters. It's been a collaboration between Ashfield Council, Mansfield and Notts County Council. So Mansfield the reservoir, it's Mansfield and Sutton Reservoir. What I was going to say is, can I ask that the Mill Waters project is central to any future plans to improve the visitor economy? I don't know if people have been, but Rother Valley Country Park near Sheffield, it's a massive destination place, and that's what the Mill Waters could be. And I think if it had some key investment, like I say, we are putting a lot of investment in it at the moment already, we could turn the Mill Waters into something similar to Rother Valley. When you go there, it's absolutely packed. It's rammed. There's people on the water constantly. It's just so busy. It is a destination place. Let's see if we can make Mill Waters, Kingsmill Reservoir, the same sort of place as Rother Valley.
Well, thanks, Alan. Maybe that's when you invite me up, which you said you was going to do. That's one place you could take me, because I don't really know that place, and I'd like to see what it's like and get the feel for the place, really. So, you know, more than happy to come and have a look. Who's going to answer that? Are you going to take that on, Matthew? Yeah.
Councillor Smith will obviously meet with colleagues from Ashfield to go through some of the key areas that you have there, and I know in particular this project has been talked about as part of the Discover Ashfield board, which I sit on as well. So that will all be incorporated as part of the visitor economy strategy moving forward.
Any more, Roger?
I think as a county council, excuse me, with our Sherwood Visitors Centre, that's the hub, if you like, and we could have spokes coming off it around other attractions, because in my experience in this country and abroad, when people say, where are you from? And you mention Sherwood Forest or Nottingham, and they instantly click on to Robin Hood and Sherwood Forest. So it's a given. I mean, I think you've got a really good starting point there as a hub, and you radiate all about Pilgrim Fathers, Newark Castle, Cricket Ground, Forest, and all the rest as spokes coming off that. And I think from memory, you've got a pretty good public bus service that goes around and calls at Sherwood Forest Visitor Centre. Whatever, it's the jewel in the crown, and it's our crown. And if we can get more people in there, then you've got an income stream. Thanks.
Thank you. Any more comment, Scott?
Just a quick one, Chairman. I really welcome this, clearly representing a division that has some of the best and world-known destinations, the Major Oak, Robin Hood, to name a few, and who also knew that Daniel Day-Lewis's grandfather was a vicar in Edwinstowe. But obviously from a local point of view, obviously over this last 16, 17 months, international tourism has been non-existent. But I think the other part of this that we also need to consider, we talk about sort of the building back from COVID. We really want people to come to Nottinghamshire, spend their money and stay here. But it's also looking at that lasting impact that it can have on our local residents as well in the terms of job creation, keeping businesses afloat. So that's the sort of a central theme from my point of view. And yes, I should declare an interest in that, because I do have a small business myself.
Thanks, Scott. Any other comments? I'll go to the vote then. All in favour, please. That's unanimous. Thank you very much. That takes us on then to item 8, supporting residents in long-term and sustainable employment. The recommendations are on page 33. I've put them forward.
I second that and reserve the right.
And this is your first report then, Jerry.
Thank you very much, Chair. The purpose of this report is to consider a project that's part funded by residual European Social Fund. The European Social Fund contribution to the project has already been approved at a D2 N2 level, and the recommendations of the report are about supporting that and about entering into a partnership arrangement. Excuse me. More specifically, the European Social Fund monies is around £4 million, which will be match funded in kind by partners such as Nottinghamshire County Council and also such as PAN D2 N2 organisations. So the total funding available is £8 million. This particular project complements existing projects that deal with the space that it occupies, which is the relationship between employment and health. So what this project tries to do is to address some of the barriers to employment that folk with health or social care related problems suffer. The proposal is that the project would be delivered through Futures, who would employ a team of around 28, mostly operational staff, such as employment advisors, mental health advisors, and that sort of person, to support around 5,800 people into work. Now that 5,800 isn't the number of people who would be expected necessarily to gain employment, but they would be supported with a smaller number actually being expected to gain paid work. This authority is subject to your views this morning. Hopefully going to be able to match fund the project and make a contribution therefore to the partnership arrangement supporting the ESIF monies. Chairman, the recommendations are on page 3. One is to approve the match funding contribution, which I would repeat is essentially in kind from people who are doing this work already. And second, to confirm agreement to enter into a partnership with Futures over its actioning.
Lovely, thank you, Jerry. Before I open this up, I just want to get a point across really in terms of how we're going to measure this. Yeah, to me, I don't just want to give loads of money out and it's always the same people that seem to be selected to deliver what we need to be delivered. And one of my things I'm bringing into this new committee is that they've got to prove their worth. Yeah, they really do have to prove their worth. And we've got to make sure that when these contracts are given out to these outside bodies, that there's some really strong and robust measures in there so we can monitor that they are actually value for money. Because if they're not, then we can always put that money somewhere else with somebody else to deliver a service that we feel is worthy of the people that we're here to support. I think the idea of what we're doing is right. There are people, vulnerable people out there that do need our support. They do need help into employment. And to me, that's the main crux of this committee, about economic development side of it, not the asset management, the economic development side of it. It's so important that we get this right. So yeah, I'm asking you to support the money and the recommendations, but please be assured I'll be pushing to make sure that we know that that money is being spent to the best and we get best results from that money we've spent. Okay, I'll open it up now. Anne.
Fantastic to see the council obtaining this European funding, which will hopefully enable our residents to undertake meaningful employment. And just going back to paragraph 5, it says, the ambition is to provide additional complementary activity. Could I just clarify, are we talking about training, help with CVs and writing and applications, etc.? Or are there any further ideas we have around the support that would be useful? And then paragraph 8 says, the overall aim is to help 5,812 unemployed to eco-inactive clients. Could I just check, does eco-inactive mean economically inactive? And could you say a bit more about that definition and how it was arrived at, really? And I think, Keith, you stole my bit at the end. Finally, what will our measures of success for this funding be? Are there any key evaluation criteria set out by the funders? And could we, gain some insight into what that might look like, what it might be?
Thanks for that. And I think we'll do a Matthew and a Jerry double act there in terms of answering that. But I'm sorry for stealing your thunder. Do apologise.
Perhaps if I could take the lead and then Jerry can provide some supporting information. So yes, in economically inactive clients within our D2N2 region who are disadvantaged, but they're still relatively close to the labour market. So that's the definition for you, but also tackling those barriers to work and entering and sustaining employment. So there'll be a range of measures in answer to the question about what are we going to put in place. So it's interventions plus support pathways into businesses, which Futures have quite good connections with businesses, but focusing on the basic skills and the most appropriate, I guess, provision to allow people to enter back into employment. In terms of the contracts management and the KPIs, yes, there are a number of KPIs associated with this document, and as the chairman has been really clear, we'll bring back progress reports on that as we move forward. And there are boards set up within the county council, but also as part of the governance arrangement for Futures itself, to ensure that we have some oversight over delivery anyway. So just to give members that comfort around that. I hope that I've answered all of the questions there, and if I haven't, I'm happy to come back on any that I might not have answered.
Do you want to come back, Andy?
Yeah. So in the county council itself, obviously, we've got agencies that work with inactive people, or whatever you like to call them. Will this new funding bid be working with the family intervention team, the family, because they're doing this similar sort of work? We don't want to be duplicating or replicating what somebody's doing, but if we could get together and make it more succinct, that'd be quite helpful.
I think what it is, and it's adding value. So you have your intervention, helping them operate as the family. This is actually taking it that one step further to get them in, try and get them into employment, and the family intervention teams won't have the skills necessarily to be able to do that, because these are the people that will be taking them from that journey, will have the business skills, know how to apply for jobs, be helped to teach them on techniques on interviews and things like that. So it's a different skill set. So it's all part of the journey that individual will be taking. Does that answer? I'll bring the officers in as well, but that's my understanding of how it works.
It does, but actually the family service, one of their criteria is for their funding stream was to get families back into the work environment, and that was working with the DWP and other agencies to ensure that families were back into the work stream.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think.
Do you want to carry on, Matthew?
I think that's absolutely right. Sorry, I'll take this if you don't mind. I think that's absolutely right, Councillor, and the chairman's response is the one that I would have wanted to make as well. This is a wraparound service in the sense that it's been explicitly designed to acknowledge the services that are already out there. The report name checks the DWP service that deals with these sorts of issues, but there are others, such as the ones within the county council itself, and the project is designed to be flexible enough to complement rather than to duplicate.
Thank you, Kate.
I guess here, because one of the things that struck me when I read this was actually, is this going to adult health committee as well? Because talking to kind of a broader view of this, and kind of following up on what Anne's just said, clearly getting people into jobs is really important, and it has a really beneficial impact in most cases in families. But it would nice to understand when we see what the outputs are, not just how many people have got into jobs, also how long, whether they maintain those jobs, and actually what impact that person in that family of having a good job, what impact is that going to have on the wider family as well? Because that's part of the benefit, isn't it? And it's not necessarily a value for money one. It is actually around people's mental health and family support. I think that's perhaps to some extent what Anne was talking about.
Yeah, thanks for that, Kate. I don't think it needs to go to another committee. I think that's overplaying it a little bit. But the officers we don't work in silos. So all the information in terms of the benefits of what happens from this particular import will be fed back, so that it can be evaluated by them as well, and see the actual impact in the family as well as the individual. Because that will help us moving forward when any such funding comes forward, in how we then continue to use it. It's no good just sort of being able to one little incident isolated. It needs to be, a benefit for for the whole family, and therefore, because obviously if you've got somebody in your family that has difficulties, that's a pressure on you as a family, isn't it? We all know that. Whereas then they're in employment, it relieves a massive pressure on them, and then the services to that family can be adapted and adjusted accordingly. So it's really important that there is that information flow throughout the whole thing. But I think going to another committee, I don't think that's a necessary route for it to take, to be fair.
Absolutely agree, but I mean, the point I think several of us are trying to make here is actually that there is a broader picture than just getting people into jobs. And because mental health's been a massive concern in particular, hasn't it, particularly around the pandemic. So an understanding of whether that's improved. When we're looking at the outcomes and we're measuring success, that ought to be part of the success criteria. I think that's.
Yeah, I can assure you that that's on our radar. You know, we're not sort of just concentrating on one little element of it. It will be brought back. I think we've covered all that really. Unless anybody's got any other questions, Roger.
Well, for me, Mr. Chairman, it's a no-brainer financially. I mean, as I understand it, the county council's put in 321,000 match funding into an 8.3 million project, and 4 million of that is from the EU. Bring it on, I say, and it's an excellent topic of employment to spend it on. So, thank you.
Dave?
Yeah, just to pick up on the points that's been spoken about, the overall aim is to help 5,812 people. There's no mention in the people with disabilities, anybody that's very, very difficult to actually get into employment. Are they going to be penalised because of their disability, because they've been approached by this particular scheme? And is this funding going to be ongoing for next year as well?
Before you can you turn your mic off, please, Jerry, because it interferes with people being able to speak. Right, this does not disadvantage disabled people. This is all part of helping those people. These 5,812 have been identified as needing that help. If anybody else comes into the picture that requires that help, then they'll be added to that figure. There's been a lot of work gone on by the family intervention team to identify the people that actually require this sort of a service and this sort of help. Go on.
Yeah, from personal experience and past experience, I know that the people are the disadvantaged people that have got mental health, that have got a disability, find it very difficult to put their case across when people are approaching, and they will nod and say, yeah, I need the help, and then they don't know what to do next. That's the issue. And the other point was, will this be an ongoing funding from us?
Right. If you look at paragraph 2 on the paper, pretty much that explains. Yeah, this is all about helping those people that will say, yeah, I want help, but then don't know nothing about it. This is all about the progression of it, yeah, to stop that sort of thing happening. As for going on, who knows how funding is going to come forward in the future. I'm sure no matter what, because this is just, spending the remainder of the European funding there, that there will be something put in place to continue to help those people. We're not just going to let them fall off a cliff. How that will look moving forward, I don't know yet, but it's not just us, it's about our partners as well, and how that will look. So they'll be working on that between now and when that funding ends. Okay. Okay, I think we've given that a fair amount of discussion. It's been proposed and seconded. All in favour, please. That's unanimous. Thank you very much. That takes on to then item 9, operational decisions, quarterly update, March to May 2021. Recommendations on page 37, proposed by me.
And I'll second those and reserve me right.
Okay, and that's Neil Gamble is going to talk to that paper. Thank you, Neil.
Thank you, Chairman. This is a paper which we would intend to bring to you quarterly, which is looking at the lower level property transactions where operational decisions have been made. Previously, Policy Committee have approved a number of delegations to officers in the world of property transactions, so that lower level ones are undertaken through the officers after consultation with the relevant divisional members for their areas, and then we report them back to you on a quarterly basis for you to note what activities have taken place. Matters that are required to come to this committee include granting of any leases by the council of over 25 years, any transactions that take place at less than best consideration, any sales of property in excess of £100,000 in value, and any acquisitions that the council seek to do to buy in any property interests. So they would be matters that we'd normally bring here. As I say, this is the list of operational decisions made by under that delegation to officers during the period, and they're provided for you to note and obviously ask any questions on if you so wish as well. So welcome for any questions. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Okay, moving on then. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. That takes on then to item 10, progress of the employment and skills brokerage platform. Recommendations are on page 41. I propose them.
Second those and reserve my right.
And that's Jerry.
Thank you, Chair. This report concerns a potential employment and skills portal. It seeks approval to appoint a contractor in that regard. This is a priority action, Chairman, under your COVID Economic Recovery Action Plan. And essentially it's to create a one-stop online portal for Nottinghamshire residents who are seeking employment or support services, perhaps folk who have been made unemployed as a result of the COVID crisis, or folk who come off furlough very soon and who find that the company that they have been working for is no longer viable. And so what the proposal is to create a portal that provides information on employment opportunities and on training that's available, as well as other services that are available through public sector schemes, such as the ones that we talked about a short time ago. Through marketing, we'll encourage employers based in Nottinghamshire to put their vacancies onto the portal, and through the magic of IT, which I don't pretend to understand in great detail, the jobs that are advertised on national portals such as Indeed.co.uk, on regional portals and on district portals will be scraped and will be added to the information on this particular information base. The portal will be supported by the careers service via Futures, and will provide an excellent new resource for residents. We've gone through, Chairman, a procurement process based on the broad specification that we've shared with you in previous meetings, and we have a preferred contractor, which is included, of course, in an exempt report attached to the agenda papers. This particular report, Chair, asks for approval to appoint the preferred contractor and to provide funding from existing budgets. I'm very happy to discuss the commercially sensitive issues under the exempt paper.
Yeah, can I just remind people, particularly some of the newer councillors, that there is an item later on which is exempt. It's exempt for a reason. So if there's anything that you want to ask now, which it might be better be asked in that part of it, please keep your question for then, because we can't breach that confidentiality because it's financially sensitive. Yeah, it's not we're trying to hide anything, but we don't want people to put prices up because they know how much we're prepared to spend effectively. Okay, so we're all happy with that. So if you want to ask any questions on this particular paper, I'm happy to sort of do that, but please don't ask anything from that exempt item. Any questions or comments? That's cool. So we'll go straight to the vote then. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. That takes us on then to the item 11, which is the work programme. Are you talking on that, Matthew, or is anything need to talk on it, or is there any questions on the work programme? Got any questions?
I think, Chairman, this should evolve itself as we get.
Yeah,
into the
yeah,
session.
I agree. But
And then it should be fluid enough that we can add things as we go along.
Yeah.
As well.
Well, this is the opportunity for people to add to if they wish to. Yeah, Kate.
You're going to put in the staffing structure in the department in here, or how are you going to do it? I just wondered if you were going to do a report on it for committee. The other one we talked about earlier in the meeting. I don't know what other people think.
No, I think you're just going to get that sent to you, Kate. I don't think it needs to go in here. We'll send it out to you. We'll do a briefing on it so that you got it. Yeah, I think we want to keep this for major projects and things going forward. I think do you all agree with that? Yeah, but we'll do a briefing note with the structure so you understand it. Okay, that's that then. So that then takes us on to item 12. The committee will be invited to resolve that the public be excluded for the remainder of the meeting on the grounds that the discussion are likely to involve disclosure of exempt information described in Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972, and the public interest in maintaining the exemption outweighs the public interest in disclosing the information. If agreed, the public will have to, that's just a note. Can I have a vote that we're happy to exclude the press and public? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. So can we stop the live feed, please?